Today we're going to show you how to install the all-new M2 conversion bumper for the F30. Hey, this is Brian. Thanks for watching Kies Motorsports. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and check us out at kiesmotorsports.com. Today, we're going to bring you along as we install this M2 conversion bumper on my F30 335. So let's talk about what's included in the kit, what you need to install it, and then we'll walk you through the process. So included in the kit, you're going to get a bumper, you're going to get all of the lower grills, and then some miscellaneous hardware to install it. Now, they do have the option where you can get it with or without PDC. You will see that my car has PDC. I have PDC brackets and I don't have PDC. The reason for that is I actually don't care for front PDC, so I'm deleting it from my system. So, but if you do have it, they will come with holes pre-drilled and also with some new brackets. And like I said, just some miscellaneous parts that you're going to need and the lower grills. Now, when you look at my bumper, you will notice that all of my lower grills are pre-installed. They just clip right into place. We actually did some B-roll with this bumper a few weeks ago, if you saw that video, so that's why mine's pre-installed. So we're gonna skip that step, but let's talk about some of the tools and then we'll get into the installation process. So as far as the tools are concerned, it's very easy to take off a BMW bumper and you only need a handful of tools. So we recommend having some kind of trim removal tool, T30 Torx bit, T25 Torx bit, and then also an 8mm. Now, for this process, you typically don't need to jack up your car unless your car is extremely low, but to make sure that we can get this camera under the car, we're gonna have to jack it up. So we have a chock for the back wheels, we have our favorite ESCO jack stands in the whole wide world, the only jack stand you'll ever see us use. We have our ESCO jack, and then we have a cheapo jack, just so that we can get the ESCO jack where it needs to go. So with that, let's get started. Now the first part of the process is to remove your license plate if you have one. Now mine is pretty obvious why it's going to be in the way, because it's got this huge metal bracket that's going to prevent the bumper from coming off. But even if your license plate is mounted dead center, typically what happens is the screws will actually go into that tough foam that sits behind the bumper and it'll make it very difficult to remove. So with that, I took that off. I need to get a 17 mil and release this. Now again, this next step is optional, but we are going to put the car on jack stands. So to do that, it's best if you can get the jack under the central jacking location in the front, lift the car up, and then put it on the jack stands. The only problem is, even if your car is on a stock ride height, you're probably not gonna be able to get a jack under. So what I do is I have a cheap jack, we jack the one side up, then we get the main jack under, put the car up, then we take out the cheap jack, put the jack stands on, and then lower it down. So at this time, let's make it happen. Okay, and we'll check the jack stands. As you lower the car down, things can shift, so you always want to make sure that you double check. Make sure that everything is fully on the stands before you take your jack out fully, so everything is nice here. Again, these things are awesome because they're flat on top. Also, the reason I like to use this jack here is, as you can see, it's got this nice big handle. So instead of relying on twisting here, you have all of this extra control. So now that we have everything secure, we're just gonna give it a little shake, and again, we chock the wheel. Everything is nice and solid, everything looks good, and let's keep going. Now, if you haven't used the central jacking location, this is what it's going to look like. Now, we did remove my underbody protection, but typically it's exposed. If it doesn't look like this, typically there's an indicator, it's like a circle or so, on the actual underbody protection on a lot of the 328s and whatnot. And then that's also the location, but just double check it, be careful, and then there you go, that's where it is. Now, since we're already under here, we're going to start by removing all of the 10mm and also the little plastic pins that are underneath the bumper. And then we're going to do the top. So my bumper is gonna be a little bit different setup than yours because I don't have a lot of the underbody protection on because, well, we're always working on the car, so we just leave it off for the time being. But typically what you're gonna do is you're just gonna go along. If you see any 8mm along the border here, you're going to remove them. They look like that. And then also you may have some of these push pin fasteners. And basically what you do is you just pop up on this piece right here, and there's a little plastic pin in the middle. And then you pull this part out. And the way that it works is as you push that little center piece in, the rest of the rivet expands and holds everything in place. So at this time, just go along and remove any 8mm you have, or any of these little guys, because we are going to need to reuse them. So now what you can do is push your wheel in. There's a couple 8mm in here that we need to remove, and then do the same thing on the other side. But basically you're gonna have 3 small ones. So there's a small one here, and then a small one here. And then the way that your bumper is held onto your fender are by 2 longer ones that are about here and about here. So at this time, let's remove those. Okay, and here's a shot of what the long ones look like. Then to get the second one, what I do is I pull this back, and then you'll be able to reach in and get it. Then once you've done that, you just take your bumper and just let it hang loosely. Now, if your car has PDC, you're also going to need to reach in there. You don't have to disconnect it like I did, but regardless, you're going to have to separate this plug here. So you just press on each side and then pull it down, just like that. Then we're going to do the exact same thing on this other side. The only difference on this side is it doesn't have a PDC connection since we already disconnected it. So with that, remove these 8mm. Now that we've released all the screws and fasteners from the lower section and then also the wheel wells, it's time to get all of the bolts that go across the top here. So at this time, just open up your hood, and you're going to need a T25 and a T30. Now, before we get to any of those screws, you need to remove your weather stripping. So just grab it at one end like this, and then just simply pull up. Now to remove these top screws, you're going to need a T25 for here, then a T25 for here. Then with a T30, remove the remaining 6 screws. So once you've done all that, the bumper is pretty much ready to come off. It's held in by these little clips here. So what you want to do is just take your bumper, just slide it and release those. And then what I like to do is I like to make sure that the end over here is popped. Then we'll do the exact same thing over here. And then all you're gonna do is just take your bumper, and it's gonna come straight off. And then you can put it somewhere safe like a bumper stand. So while we're talking about my bumper, I've only received like 4,000 or 5,000 messages on what happened to my front lip. So I was actually at my house and I pulled on the grass just to get my car out of the way so I could pull my other car out. And I hit a tree root and it just annihilated it. So if you were wondering, I hit a tree root while going 2 miles an hour. Now, while you have the bumper off, this is the prime time to clean it. So get all those leaves out, get that sand out, get any miscellaneous junk out, because it's so much easier to do it now than when your car's back together. So I'm just gonna do some cleaning and then we'll be back. Now, as you may have known, my M Sport package was from the factory, and if you have one from the factory, it has this little support piece. This needs to come off before we install the aftermarket bumper. If you have a base bumper, this bumper is going to fit as well, but you're going to have a black bar across that needs to be removed. So to remove this, there's a little Torx bit in here. You're going to need an E-Torx socket, or you can use an 8mm. I use this little ratchet because it gets in there really nice. It makes it super easy for me to remove this bolt. Now, because there was never an M2 bumper on a 3 Series before, because one is for a 2 Series, one is a 3 Series, and this is a hybrid bumper that was custom made, you're going to have to make some changes under here. Again, nothing is the end of the world, but you are gonna have to make basically space for it, because even parts like this foam, if you notice, it has these lines right there. These are perfectly molded for, for example, this is for an M Sport bumper, which I used to have on the car. Now, because of the contours and whatnot, it's just not gonna fit with the new bumper. So this is something that we're gonna have to remove. Now, if you have a 328, a lot of times you won't have that, but if you have a 335, a lot of time you're gonna have a shroud over here and then also a shroud over here. Now, typically, these are just held in with those little plastic push pins again. So there's one up top here, which we've already removed, and then one down here that we removed, and then same on the other side. There's just two of these fasteners that you need to remove. There's one over there, and then also one in the bottom, and then you can just pop these right off. Now, you may be thinking, you know, without this shroud, how is the air gonna know where to go? Well, if you look at how the bumper is shaped and contoured, it's basically like a funnel, and it's still going to throw the air exactly where it needs to go, but just with this extra piece in there, it's not gonna fit. So we can take these off. Okay, so once you've done that, you need to remove these air ducts, which I've already done on that side. Basically, there is an 8mm, it's kind of hard to see, so just take it out of your wheel well. And then you have one of these little fasteners down here that has the small portion in the middle. And you just pop that out. And then there's another one up here. So it's going to be the exact same thing on the other side of the car. So once you get those out, we are ready for the next step. Now what we need to do is we need to transfer over this little support piece and also our kidney grills. So if you haven't done kidney grills before, you want to push in the tab and then just slowly work it out. Just apply some outward pressure, and it is super easy when you have the bumper off. Okay, just like that. Put this on my cart here. Okay, there's the second one. Now this piece, you're going to rock it down and pull it down. So you go like that and you slide it down. And then when you reinstall, you just slide it up and clip it in. And then you need to take this piece right here. You just slide that off like that. Same thing over here. Just slide it off like that. Now at this point in the process as well, if you're going to transfer over your PDC, all you do is unclip them, use the double-sided tape to stick them on the back, and then just reroute the wire. It's only 4 connections, and it's super simple to do. But we're gonna leave that here because, like I said before, we're gonna do a PDC delete on this new bumper. Slide that on like so. Do the same on the other side. And I'm gonna put this on the bumper stand for 1 second. And we're gonna take our middle support piece. Again, that slides up like that and then clips right in. Now, like we said before, typically these lower grills would not be installed, but it's just held in with these little clips. So all you do is just take it and you press it into place. So with that, let's install the new bumper. So you want to always be very careful around your fenders. So we're gonna just take it, especially if you're doing it with one person. And then a good thing to do is to line up these little tabs right there. And that's gonna make sure that everything else falls into place. Okay. Make sure that everything is tucked in under the headlight. Okay. Okay, and then an important thing to do is to slide it under these tabs. Okay, just like that. And I know it's not screwed in or anything, but this thing looks really, really good so far. So now what you're gonna do is you're just gonna push it up. So again, it's gonna be like this. You're gonna take these 2 little pegs and you stick them through the holes in the fender, and then it should stay pretty much. And then what I like to do is I like to just reach my hand up here and then get them threaded by hand first. Makes it just a little bit easier. Then we can carefully install those. Okay, and then that'll snug it up. And then there's that one in the back. It's going to be very difficult for you to see. Okay, cool. And you can see how nice that fits and how nice the body lines are. So one of the cool things about these are polypropylene, same material as OEM, super durable and great fit every time. Okay, then I'm gonna take these off of the old bumper. This is what's gonna secure the fender liner in. And we'll just slide them on. Okay, just reinstall these screws. I like to leave everything loose when I first do it and then tighten them all down at the same time. The reason for that is so that you can make sure that everything is properly aligned. Then once you've done this side, do the exact same thing over there. You're gonna put the 2 screws in here and then the 3 that hold the fender liner to your bumper. Then once you've done that, we're going to thread all these back in. Remember, the ones at the corners are T25s. The ones along the front here are T30s. So I'm gonna push this up a little bit. Tighten that. I'll push this up. Okay. Then I'm gonna snug up these other ones, and then we'll do a test fit with the hood. Now my hood doesn't have the best fitment in the world, but we can still get it the best we can. Let's do a quick test fit. All right, good. So now that that's done, we can take our weather stripping. If you look, there's normally a dot, and that tells you where the middle is. So you can just take this, just roll it back and forth, and it'll clip into place. Now, when you're doing your test fitting, especially if you have a carbon hood, because sometimes it can get a little funky, if your hood is sitting higher than your bumper, what you can do is just put washers underneath of the screws, but that's just in general. So once we have that all situated, we can just get our kidney grills, just pop these in. Again, the top of this bumper is F30, so these should go in with no problem at all. And look at that, that looks absolutely incredible. Now, as you saw before, I don't have the underbody protection on the car at the moment. It's going back on in a little bit. So I can't quite show you the ending of it, but basically you're going to have a piece like this. And if you look at my M Sport bumper, you can see how this is mounted. So basically this is going to go on the bumper, you know, on the top of the new bumper. And then you take those little plastic rivets and they go through your actual bumper and then into this. And then that is what's going to secure your underbody protection onto your bumper. Okay, at this point, we can lower the car and check it out. And with that, the installation of our M2 conversion bumper for the F30 is complete. The fitment is incredible. The material, the polypropylene, is incredible. And it looks awful right now because it's not painted, but the bumper itself looks incredible, and I can't wait to get this car color matched. Once again, my name is Brian, and if you're interested in any of the parts or tools that we use in today's video, be sure to see the links down in the description. If you like today's video, give us a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and check us out at Kies Motorsports, and stay tuned because there's gonna be some new color going on this car very soon. My name is Brian, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.